Ethics in New Genetics, Separation of Church and State by Daniela Ricardo, ENC 1102. My thesis. Both religion and government are two very persistent aspects of many a person's life, but the argument has been made that the two should be kept apart in every case. The matter of whether or not genetic research is ethical and should be regulated does not have to do with the religious beliefs of a person, as Sam Harris heavily argues. It has everything to do with the internal moral compass of every different person, regardless of how different these morals may be and whether or not these stem from religion. Left to right, the Dalai Lama, Sam Harris. Ethics in New Genetics, the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama, a spiritual leader who is held in the highest regard, has written the essay Ethics in New Genetics concerning exactly what the title says. He is respectful and open to all people, religious or not. His belief is that all people should be involved in ethical discussions. Such the quote, "We must rise to the ethical challenge as members of one human family, not as a Buddhist, a Jew, a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim." A polite call to action, Ethics in New Genetics is the Dalai Lama's method of conveying his concern that if we as a species delve too far into genetic alterations, immeasurable damage may be done. He says on page 63, "Do we really know what the long-term impact will be?" Though I do agree with the Dalai Lama in his belief that genetic alterations to a high degree with low stakes is at most rudimentary, bad, I also agree with him that all types of people should have a say, regardless of whether they agree with me or not. Sam Harris on stem cells and morality. Sam Harris's speech, Stem Cells and Morality, was all in all a speech which made jump to jump to jump and made many assumptions. In his quote, "This arithmetic of souls doesn't make sense, it's intellectually indefensible. More intuitions have been obscured by religious metaphysics." This quote basically implies that, well, in this quote he's using logos, which is logic, and he's making these assumptions that people that are religious believe in souls, and which is why they do want ethical regulations on stem cell research. And regardless of whether or not these people believe whatever they believe in their religion, it should be respected. Harris's main view was that genetic research should not be bridled by the concerns of religious fanatics. In the quote, we have this idea based on rather vague notions of theology that in every fertilized ovum there is a soul. And this, again, vague notions is a term. It's basically putting everything into big words, for lack of a better phrase. So, yes, again, he's using logos. So, in my opinion, he's sort of disrespecting people with religion, and as I'll later talk about, the Dalai Lama is all about respecting every different person's belief, or at least I drew that from his essay, for a sort of democracy of sorts in concerning how ethical regulation should be drawn up. Next time, ask first, genetics and ethics. This is an objective outlet of information which surveys the fact on a cautionary tale for scientists in fields as volatile as that of genetic research/stem cell research. If his research had been successful, this scientist that's discussed in this article, it would have been revolutionary, and he would have won something like a Nobel Peace Prize, which is part of the reason why he wanted to do this, and why he was ready to risk it all. So that's basically what this is on, and this is just more of an objective approach to everything, so not pathos, ethos, logos, those weren't necessarily used, and it wasn't argumentative, it was just an explanatory essay. And this quote, "One of many scientists who want to understand the ethical implications of their work but do not have the training or resources to think them through," is quite relevant to my later argument where I discuss how these ethical regulations they're really needed, because this cautionary tale it could happen anywhere. And as long as we don't have ethical regulations, then we're not going to be able to do such things and move forward with legal research, and more illegal things will keep popping up. The role of religion. In the separation of church and state, the two important aspects of history in modern times have been separated in the just attempt to prevent any disruption the church might cause to the state. Sam Harris's argument is not just against any person of ethical doubts on genetic research, but it is on the grounds of his assumption that the doubts stem from religion. The Dalai Lama, a religious figure, is in stark contrast and insists that every type of person from different backgrounds should add on to the argument. So this is going back to what I was saying before about how different these two people are. And this quote, we need to examine the questions from the perspective of a global ethics that is grounded in the recognition of fundamental human values that transcend religion and science, is basically explaining that religion, whatever role it plays in Sam Harris's eyes, or rather the role it shouldn't play in Harris's eyes, in the Dalai Lama's eyes, it doesn't really matter, because we need to go above and beyond to discuss something that's going to affect so many people in such a large way, in such an influential way. So basically, the role of religion, it may impact a person separately, their views. It should be respected no matter where it comes from, of course, but again, the quote that says fundamental human values that transcend religion and science, they're different beliefs, and they should be respected regardless of what role religion plays in a person's conclusion whether or not stem cell research should be allowed. Stem cell research. In all of my insistence of the inclusion of every person affected by such a broad field of genetic research, I should discuss the possible benefits. Again, like I said before, we're not going to be able to get to these benefits legally if we don't have ethical regulations. So, should the Dalai Lama's suggestion of a more inclusive community of humans discussing the matter of ethical issues in genetic research come to pass, the benefits should indeed be included. In the article Next Time Ask First, the author's choice of example, the scientist Dr. He made some real progress in his search for HIV/AIDS immunity. He may have conferred on Nana immunity to infection by HIV. A quote from the article. Nana, one of the twins experimented on, was not ultimately cured, but Dr. He came very close. HIV and AIDS is just one of many incredibly dangerous and fatal infections to cause epidemics, and if ethical laws are made, we can move forward with more research like this and make a difference with the health of many, but only if we can make these laws. Church and state, a history. In the past, like we all learned as children in the American school system, the Catholic Church abused their power and the states in question suffered greatly. This abuse of power was despicable, but in the respect of genetic research, Sam Harris's emphasis on this is ill-placed. So, although his argument is logical, what it is based on is a fallacy. Like the Dalai Lama said in previous slides, people of all backgrounds should be heard. The Dalai Lama's argument is, in the aspect that I'm talking about, is mainly emotional, based on emotional as well as logical reasoning. So, Harris may find the root of their ethical concerns very hard to understand, but he is one person and not everyone agrees with him. The Dalai Lama insists that every person should be involved because genetic research affects everyone, so both Harris and religious people should have a voice. For example, if there are 300 people that agree with Harris and 500 people that that agree with the Dalai Lama in the other aspects of his argument in his essay that I did not discuss, then it's going to be a 3-to-5 ratio, and that's the ratio in which ethical regulations should be made concerning whether you're for or against certain aspects of stem cell research. Concluding statement. Church and state. In this case, church is religion and state is stem cell research. Sam Harris believes the two should be separated, as many governments believe in the phrase's literal form, but this isn't the real literal form. This is just a metaphor. But like I said before, Harris is just one person. The cautionary tale in the article Next Time Ask First, Genetics and Ethics can teach us anything. It can teach us that ethical restrictions are needed so much. And if we can get past these restrictions, we can get into the benefits of stem cell research that we hear so much about, but we can never see. These can be put in place using a democracy of sorts, which I talked about in some of my previous assignments, where every person has a say in what goes, which is what the Dalai Lama suggests in his essay, Ethics and New Genetics. And this is my works cited page. Most of these are pictures, by the way.